Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to the Future Real Estate Tech and PropTech. We have Sven Glowik with us from Union Investment. He's a business development expert, and we're very happy to have him here to tell us about the strategies that Union Investment is going after, as well as telling us more about the insights that he's learned about so they can forecast the trends better. My name is Anna Yukiko-Bickenbach. I'm a program and event manager here at GERMANTECH, and I'm looking forward to doing this webinar since it's my very first webinar.
It's my first webinar as well, so sorry for any mistakes in language or something else. Be kind with me.
And I will give this hint again to all of our viewers. If you can enlarge the slides, the screen with the slides, that'll be better for you. And that way you can then place Sven and my talking heads somewhere else. That way you just have a better view. And if you have any questions, there's a text box at the bottom where you can place your questions. And at the end of the whole presentation, we will try to and aim to answer your questions. So let's move to the first slide. Oh, sorry, I gotta technically go in here. Where's my mouse? Okay. All right. So really quick, here's the outline. Introduction of the speakers. Sven will tell us a little bit more about himself in the next slide. And then we'll go into really quick, what's GERMANTECH, why are we here, and some Union Investment. Sven will tell you about what Union Investment is and what they're doing. Then we'll go into some PropTech fun facts and numbers. Then the majority of the fourth part will be Sven talking about the strategy, outlook, and trends. And we'll then move on to the PropTech Innovation Award 2020, which is coming up in May, and move on to your question and answers. So just quickly to, oh, did we? I feel like we missed. We did, there we go. Sorry about that. So this is a slide where I was really interested in and keen on understanding, where Sven comes from, his background, and how he got involved with the real estate sector and now PropTech, and asked him to send an image. And so Sven, you chose the image from The Fifth Element.
Right. Well, yeah, from my side, I was asked to give a short insight of how I came to real estate and how I came to the PropTech side. I have a master's degree in urban planning, and for all who know, urban planning is more like a general view, and we're talking about the city's developments in the next 10, 20 years. And when I thought about, okay, which image could be suitable, I thought, well, there was a film in the 90s, which is kind of a dystopia or something like that, but shows where it might end if we digitize everything around real estate and around cities. So this is, I think, a nice, and suitable picture what my views are, because I really like the idea of a network and a digital network around buildings. I came to Union Investment as a working student about 4.5 years ago, and one of my first tasks was to implement PropTech research, which was completely new to me at that time. And while I was researching, I really got into that and developed a huge interest in startups in the real estate sector, which then became one of my key topics after I graduated and became a full-time employee at Union Investment. And so the search for new ideas, new technology is one of my key tasks. Therefore, I'm also a member of the evaluating team for the PropTech Award, which we are talking about later on. And yeah, that's about short what I'm doing on the focus of PropTech.
Okay, cool. How long have you been with Union Investment then, since you started as a working student?
I started in 2015 in October, and then I graduated in the summer of 2017. So
Okay.
2.5 years as a full-time.
But you've had half a decade experience with Union Investment and been able to kind of watch how they've revolved in this time.
Yeah, sure. And I also have had a long-term internship in a developing company before that in my bachelor degree. So to the real estate sector, I'm not completely new at that time. So.
Okay. So even before that. Okay, great. So then skipping the outline part, because we already did that. Just to tell you guys a little bit more about GERMANTECH, there's a variety of things that GERMANTECH actually does, but we were founded 5 years ago. And the idea behind GERMANTECH is that we build digital ecosystems for a sustainable future. We do that in kind of two ways. The one is we make money from working with other big companies or stakeholders in the public, private, or social sector, and we basically help them figure out, their digital and innovative potentials. And we act as a change agent, a company builder. All of my colleagues here in the house, we all have an entrepreneurial background. So that's the business side, and the other side is that we have grown a educational platform such as this webinar. We have an event series called World Changes in Tech, and all of that is basically done pro bono because we really believe that we need to help people understand what digitalization means, especially in Germany, and that we can unlock all the positive aspects of digital entrepreneurship. And we want to create transparency in that field. And that's our mission here at GERMANTECH, is to foster digital change. So that's a little bit about us. And Sven?
Yeah, maybe just a few facts about the company I'm working for, and I think then we can end the advertisement block, I would say. So for the segment I'm working in, the real estate segment of Union Investment Management, we are having around 41 billion euros into real estate under management. The main asset class is office, followed by retail, hotel, logistics, also a small part, but growing part in residential. And yeah, in that role, we are one of Europe's leading asset managers, and also are mainly invested in European real estate, but with strong market shares in the United States and Asia as well. And I think if you look at the asset classes, you understand where our main research focuses are. If we're looking into innovations in the real estate sector, we are not doing real estate development for ourselves. We're buying that as forward deals, and but we're not building real estate. So all the startups in construction tech are out of focus. But if there is a chance that we can look into those startups as well, we are always doing that. But the focus is on the main asset classes which we have. What is very interesting, and what you can see also in the last PropTech Awards, was we have a strong focus on sustainability, which we are adapted into our DNA, I would say. because we see the sustainability goals from Paris and from the European side, which affect us very much because we are one of the main, or the real estate sector is one of the main emittents from carbon dioxide. So we have a strategic view on that, and we are looking how we can adapt to the goals in our portfolio, also with the help of digital solutions. Yeah.
Cool. Well, a little fun fact too for our viewers, we did a podcast with Jan van Mallinckrodt, which is the head of sustainability, that you can find on our webpage, or it's also posted on LinkedIn. He's also going to be with us at the World Changers in Tech event on Tuesday, where we're actually going to be talking about sustainability in PropTech. So that's a little fun tidbit for you guys if you guys want to register for that. Now that we talked about GERMANTECH and Union Investment, obviously there's one thing that has brought us together, and that's PropTech, and where we're using our expertise to seek out what are the innovations in the field. And one of the things that we've done is we're having the PropTech Innovation Summit and Award, which is the event, so we can basically recruit and analyze, what's happening in the field. And yeah, so that's the combination. That's why we're doing the webinar, so we can give you guys a view of what's happening. And this is a little fun. I put the slide together a little bit ago because I thought it would be interesting. Oh, I think I went one slide too fast. Sorry, that was the pick part. So just some fun facts in numbers. So worldwide, 2019, there was about 10 billion US dollars in investment in companies. The funding overall was 24 billion US dollars. The strongest players are, not surprisingly, the USA, followed closely by China, then comes UK, and then the German-speaking regions, DACH, so that's Germany, Austria, Switzerland. This part I thought was very interesting is 40% of all deals worldwide came from investors in Asia. So I think this is a hypothesis, probably because it's such a dense population. They have to figure out quickly, how are they going to innovate property technologies, and what does the future look like? So,
and if you count WeWork and the investment of SoftBank
sure,
into the PropTech sector, why one of the big Asian investors has a huge impact on the 40%.
Right, right, and inflated the numbers a little bit. So. This was, so 50% of commercial real estate market investors want to invest in PropTech. I guess that would be the same for Union Investment, similar view you guys hold, yeah. And yeah, sure. It's obviously, it's a response to the challenge of maintaining a high tenant satisfaction, which is basically competition, right? And you got to keep
one of the main reasons, I think, yeah, sure. We depend on our tenants, and we have to have them in our focus. So if there are solutions which can help, we're looking into that, yes.
Okay, and this was the next slide. I think my Technic is a little slow. Let's see, there we go. Hopefully it stays there. Nope, that's Shirley. Sorry, there we go. This is the appropriate slide. So I found this earlier from Forbes.com, which is kind of the different stages that PropTech has gone through. And the first row that you see is in the 80s. This is Microsoft era. And I just thought it was interesting kind of look at these different eras where it was simple software, very one-dimensional, where they didn't integrate with each other, they didn't speak with each other, and it required, expensive customization by the end user. Then came the second row that you see, that's the .com era. And the companies were looking to, profit on online transactions, and how can they get a large user base to talk to the industry. And now the one that Sven had also mentioned, the last row, this is what we've seen in the last, I guess, five to 10 years, is obviously that we have companies that are leveraging the shared economy to make physical spaces more fungible. And the question will be, what is the next stage going to look like? But I thought this was a very interesting slide to kind of visualize what PropTech has gone through and how can you define these areas of PropTech. This is an overview of the German PropTech and contact scene that I thought was just kind of nice to see, the different categories and how many different startups. And I think Sven also mentioned, you have PropTech and you have Contech. And I think what it probably is very interesting is that these two areas are coming more closely together. Would you, is there?
Yeah, well, they will interlock at some point. I think if you mention construction tech, I think BIM will be the first thing which comes in mind. Building information modeling, which is mainly used in the development and like architecture, and then the construction sites. And for us as asset managers, then, and we have the building in our portfolio, and we're working with the data which came from the building. This will be key elements. So the interlocking and the interface between the construction, the operating time, and then maybe the reselling selling of the building. So alongside the real estate value chain, I would say this will be relevant at some time in the future.
And you must see a few of these startups must look familiar to you.
Sure, I know this overview, of course. Maybe I can share with you a little bit how we are looking into startups, because we are from the commercial real estate side, so everything around privately owned real estate from the living sector is not in our main search focus. So ImmoScout and all these platforms around marketplaces, we put it aside because we have the Jones Langs of the world who are helping us with the commercial real estate, because they have profound market knowledge and can help us there. So also like temporary renting, which of course is Airbnb, but maybe on the commercial side we are looking into temporarily or flexible office spaces, which will be a huge case in the future, the flexibility, because no one is renting for 10 years anymore. They want to be flexible in floor spaces, and so we are looking into Rent 24 or Mindspace and all these co-working solutions. Can we learn something from that? Also, what we are looking in is also the topic of smart building and IoT from the sustainable perspective, which you already talked to Jan von Mallingot to, also transactions, data analysis, and all of those things, which are in our main focus to get speed into decision making, because it takes a long time. Transactions in real estate are very complex, and there are huge of stakeholders in a transaction, and everyone wants to know what's going on. So if there is something out there which can help us to gain speed, feel free to participate in the award. And that is something which could help us a lot. Yeah. And let me just have a look on some of the names on that. Yeah, well, I think from the German side, we are good, and we know them all, I would say. And we have to check, or we're always checking if we can collaborate with suitable candidates. So this is one of the sources which we use as well. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we kind of covered the maps, now we could actually move on to the expertise and the insights to your knowledge.
Yeah, sure. So I think this is a slide we always show when we are on panels or something, because this shows exactly how our old company is thinking about developing new products. When you see the upper half of the page, you see, well, we want a car. That is the aim which we are going for. And then the typical process is, first of all, we need the tires, then the chassis, and all these points of the process are not very satisfying. And the solution just, is satisfying, but not over the top cool. So what we can learn from startups, and this is why we are open to every new idea, is their approach, because they say, well, I think first of all we have to keep going, and we want to go to the next level slower than walking. So what we are doing, we take a skateboard, and then we have the first meters on the way already solved, and then we are developing on the go, iterative, and changing the product until it's very satisfying, and with a with the feedback of the user. This is something we are really working on to get faster and to get a very good product at the end.
Okay, because it also seems like that first track, it also reminds me a little bit of like a corporate would say, you know, we have all these standards that and rules and frameworks, and so
just absolutely right. We are having standards as well, and we have procedures which we are used to, and everything feels safe and it's easy because we are doing that always. But I think in this more and more faster changing world, we have to change ourselves, and we can learn from these flexible approaches. So we're on the way, I would say. Yes.
Okay.
So what I think is interesting to everyone is what we are doing in our daily business with digital solutions. I think it's a common fact that or knowledge that we are invested in Architrave, which is a data room provider, which helps us to organize all the documents around our assets on a central point. And
that's the slide. If you want me to put in this one.
No, just stay on the because I want to explain what is the aim for us, which is what we are looking for. Because if you're working with your asset as an asset manager, you have all these different documents. There's the rent agreement, and maybe a service agreement with one of our property managers, and these count up to, I don't know, 3,000 documents for just one building. And in the former times, all these documents were mainly offline, organized in some folders or something. And if you want to sell the asset to the next owner, you have to gather all these informations from the folders, and maybe you have a data room on your system. And what we are aiming for is that all the relevant data and all the relevant documents are physically just one time in our systems, and we can use them intelligently. So now you can switch to the next slide. That is what we see in Architrave. They are using artificial intelligence to match the documents to the relevant folders in the system, so everything is organized and in the folder which is most suitable for. So a contract will be in a folder with the contracts and so on. So very high level how that is working. And this slide shows also what we're looking for in strategic investments, because we are always asked for, well, do you want to invest in us? And we are looking for mutual goals. So is there a win for us? As I said, to get faster decisions or to simplify our processes. And there's a win for you because we can open up our network in the real estate sector and can help you develop your product with our partners. That is one of the basic points when we're looking into investments. And also, what the aim in Architrave was the development of a digital standard, because when we sell our assets to the next one, it's easier to have a standard which everyone works on, and that we see in Architrave, and other real estate companies are investing in them as well, and we're working on that standard together. And so this is one of the key elements for our investment approach.
And just really quick, so just for all the startups that are logged in as well, I think it makes sense to underline that having a strategic interest, that the strategic interests are aligned on both sides at what really matters. So if startup is looking for a potential investor or a customer, then I guess having that transparency and really talking about what are the opportunities, but having an alignment, an interest alignment is almost key for them to succeed within the entity.
Yeah, and also to prolong that, we are interested in long-term relationships, because I think when you look into venture capitalists, they want to exit at some point,
right,
and want their return on investment developed fast, I would say. And what we see is, as long as we can develop a success story together, we have an interest in the company, and we want to grow that together with the founders. So I think that is good as well. Yeah. I would skip to Planradar, which is a solution we are not invested in, but we are now using, which helps our co-workers in the technical department to documentate, or to document the building inspections which they are doing regularly. In the former times, you had your A0 plan in German, so a huge paper print where you see the technical installations in the building, and you have a voice recorder and a digital camera and a notebook, and you have to carry that with you, and you have notes there, and you have spoken words on the other system, and it's very it's not user friendly, I would say. And it takes a long time to get all the informations from all the different sources together in one Word template, which is then printed out and put in some folder or something. And what Planradar does is that you have an app where you can upload the building plan or the floor plan, and then you can just click on each point on the plan and place the defect directly in the system, and then you can share the information about the defect with your property manager or with the construction guys, and then you have everything in one system. Press a button, and then you have a standardized report, which is necessary for how do you say it?
Assessment?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Because we have audits and they want to see that, and so that is important for us. And it's I think it's one of the key solution which helps us in the daily business and in the future if we have that system going then finally, because it takes a lot of time of our co-workers. In the former times, it was nearly a week to get all the informations together which you need, and now it's just the day of the inspection, and then on the flight home or on the train ride, you can double check that and you're done with that. And then you have 4 days for work you really can do, and you can get creative and get things done. So this is, I think it's a very cool tool.
All right.
Yeah. The next one, which we had a prototype in and had first steps in, was Navis. And all the topics around virtual reality. We had the trolley. I don't know if you know Navis in detail. So they
no, I don't at all.
Yeah, okay.
Actually,
so they have a very cool, I said roboter, I would say, which is doing laser scans of the floors, and then generates a 3D model digitally, and then you can match the pictures which are taken in a 360-degree angle with these frames and attach information to that. So if we're talking about BIM and the future of how we are using informations around our buildings, this can be something which can be used, but we're simply not there yet. For marketing purposes, we have other mediums. So yeah, we had the first steps into that, and we're looking into it on a regular basis if we can use virtual reality for some other use cases, maybe in maintenance or something. But this is something we don't have yet the suitable use case in. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, VR it was always like a very hot topic. So, and I think that differentiates,
sure.
you know,
I think,
hot.
in 2017, that was one of the main topics which everybody talked about. And the last year I heard nothing about it, or at least a huge amount less.
Right. I mean,
of it. I think it depends on the use case. If you have a reasonable use case, for example, the maintenance, when you have, I don't know, you can check the light bulbs or the air conditioning, and you can give these pictures to the maintenance guys, and they know exactly what is built in. They can get the repair parts and all that stuff prior their arrival, and so that can help them. But for us, it's not yet a case.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say it was the same thing with blockchain as well, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, so even if you have really cool, trendy tech gadgets, and now it could be drones or something, there's always the right time when something is going to fruition based on the needs of the people and how they're actually going to use it. So
yeah, sure.
I think that's always good to know.
Yeah, another very interesting part is our smart analytics tools. We build these ourselves, and what we are doing is to use like visualization software as Tableau in this case, to get insights or deep insights into our portfolio data. So here you can see our tenants divided between the asset classes and the regional focuses, and we can then easily look into which asset class puts a lot of money into our rent rolls, or just to get an insight into our portfolio, which was formerly on Excel and very complicated to get we now have a centralized dashboard where we can switch between all these filters. Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned blockchain. That is something we also thought about, and we're looking into use cases where we see a relevant impact. And of course, at first we thought big and said, well, we are doing transactions about over the blockchain. And that is at the moment not that the easiest use case, I would say, because it's very complex. But we looked into processes which are relevant to us for liability reasons. And one of these processes are the maintenances of our fire detectors. And because we have to check them regularly, it's a security issue, and we are liable if they don't work, there's a fault or something, and some building is burning down. So, and we have lots of stakeholders, and we need to state that all the data which or all the informations which we had were exact and correct. And so we, together with SAP, we built a blockchain use case for the maintenance of the fire detectors. The maintenance guys went through the rooms, and through the buildings, and checked every fire detector in an app, and said, well, we checked it, it worked, and we have the feedback of the central point where all the information come together. And this information is then written into the blockchain, and we can check at any time that the information is correct. Right. And so we gained transparency, and the data is always reliable, because as you see in the Muster picture,
the example picture,
which is pixeled as hell, but on a purpose, because you can't read anything on that protocol. It's handwritten, and everybody knows if you have a bad handwriting, you are simply not able to read that as a third person. So this is something we see a huge impact, and we are looking for further use cases, and maybe some day in the future we are able to do the transactions over blockchain, because as you know, there is tokenization and all things which we are looking in, and we'll see how that goes as well.
So maybe in the next webinar next year, we might have some more up-to-date examples.
One of the, I think it's one of the last slides I show, and which will be the key to success if we talk about user centricity, is how we involve our tenants and how we can develop services around their daily life in our buildings. And what we did is we implemented an app together with Animus here in Hamburg, in the building we are also sitting right now, which is called My Emporio. We implemented exclusive offers with our surrounding partners for lunch, for example, special deals, or our concierge service is now digitized as well, so you can place your orders for if you want to clean your shirts,
clothes, your shirts, dry clean.
You can order that as well. You can chat with the other tenants, and also we tried like parking services as well, but that was not the main issue of the app, because at first we want everyone to get to know the services around all the digital platform around our building. So yeah, that is something we implemented. You can check the public transport informations, and yeah, this is, I think, something which will help every building owner to get to know their tenants and what they are doing in the buildings. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I mean, that was basically a quick synopsis of your portfolio to kind of showcase what are the trends that you guys saw in the last few years that you're betting on, and who you've created meaningful partnerships and cooperations with those startups in order to be a front runner in that category or that subject. And speaking of categories, these are, now we're at the trends and outlook, and I would let you take the floor for the 8 trends and outlooks that you saw, and follow on with that where we see the potential as well. But I'll let you take the lead here.
Well, with a quick view to look at my watch, I'll speed up a bit. I think if the participants want to ask questions, we need to speed up. Well, I think what will be relevant in the future is that we are able to decide on whether we buy a building or we are using that tenant for re-renting. Has to speed up, and we have to be more efficient and more fast, and we have to use our data, which we already have, but we're not using that efficiently. This is something which which was relevant in the last years, but become even more relevant with the development of digitization in real estate. Also, what we already mentioned is the interlocking between sustainability and digitization. So I think it's a key to the success of sustainability in the real estate sector, that we can use the data of the buildings to make them more greener, and together with other strategies. But I think that is a key success. Also with IoT, we're able to control buildings more efficient and reduce the carbon dioxide emissions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry, a quick question to the first part. Even though, I mean, we still have some time, but in the efficient decision making and smart analytics, I was wondering, do you see other players, like certain countries, being more advanced in that part, just because maybe Germany and Europe hasn't been invaded yet with the right technology to take care of kind of this whole data privacy?
Yeah, maybe because we are a bit paranoid with our Datenschutz.
Right.
I think if you look into Sweden, or with a general Verwaltung,
management.
Now, on the countryside, the Verwaltung, so landowner department and stuff, you know, from the politics side, we are very analog.
Yeah.
They are running behind, I think. And if you look into Sweden, which they are very good in it's hard for me to explain that in English right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, but there's a lot of potential, basically.
Yeah,
there's a lot of potential in this field for
potential if we are gaining speed with the digitization of everything, and also with politics, I think. So other countries in Europe are faster than us, but I think we will come to that we're able to use that properly. Coming back to the trends, also one of the huge topics is the e-commerce. Of course, everybody knows Amazon, Alibaba, and all these big platform players. But also we have a stationary retail section, and this one is also very big in Germany still. And we see the potential that if we connect the e-commerce and the stationary retail, that could be a really good thing. And there are concepts where you can have also analytics, but also new styles of sell products.
Mhm.
That is very interesting for us as well. We have huge shopping malls, and the property manager there is all the partners which we are working, they are looking into these solutions. And for us as owners, is also very important that our buildings in the retail side are up to date. And the last, but yeah.
I was just going to say, actually, yesterday I was at an event for, I guess, smart retail solutions, or the future of retail. And it was interesting to see that it's a combination of offsite and onsite shopping. And so there were some startups that showcased that they're, looking at foot traffic, like exactly how do people move. So then you can do place advertisement or product placement. And so if anyone is tuning in, I think retail is actually probably one of the big player for some of these, I guess, PropTech startups. Yep. Okay.
And the last one, and I think this one was the hot topic from the second half of 2019 was future office in the side of WeWork's development pre-IPO. That was something which we looked into very much, because WeWork is showcasing how a future of the office can be. Not the future, but one of the futures or points of the future. And this is, I think, not only a part of how we offer our buildings, but also what the demand of the building users is. And everyone who's working now and will work in someday in the future has other demands on how an office has to look like, and also your daily work will develop into something different, and these has influences on how the floors have to look like. And this is something we have to look in if we buy new buildings and redevelop our own. So this will be one of the relevant which we have to look in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we have four more.
Yeah, I think I already said things about what are the demands. So user centricity is, I think, one of the main issues. What I mentioned with Animus, tenant engagement. So how can we connect to the tenants? How can we give them a good feeling when they are working here, and also when they're not at work, how will they how will they live outside the offices they are working? So everything which helps to develop smart living concepts is very interesting to us as well, because we are looking into micro living, or that is one of the asset classes we are invested in. And everyone is jetting, I would say, around the world. So they are not they're not focused on one place that they spend their time on, because work brings it with it that you have to move. And also in terms of hospitality, we know what Airbnb did. Is there something which help hotel owners to be more user-centric and look into what the guest needs, and to get more customers.
Okay, I just have there's questions coming in,
Yeah.
but we'll answer those towards the end. So our audience is getting active right now. Was there anything else you wanted to add to our last?
No, I think we can switch, yeah.
Okay. So looking at those kind of 8 trends and outlooks, we've identified 6 of them where Union Investments sees a lot of potential also for themselves and what's happening in the innovative space. Yeah. So 6 of those categories is, as you guys just saw, was a smart living, smart cities, sustainable buildings, connected hospitality, smart retail, and future offices, or new work. And one of the things that Union Investment, like we said in GERMANTECH at the beginning, is that we have our PropTech Innovation Award, where we want you guys, or the startups, to apply for. And there's not only 40,000 euros up for grabs, but you get to be part of our startup incubator here in Berlin, where you get a free office, and you get to be part of the, do you pronounce it MIPIM? MIPIM competition? Yeah. And especially the most important part in being a startup or doing any type of business is obviously the business networking and meeting the professionals that are in your field and the people that can give you feedback and bouncing off ideas and connecting with each other. So that's definitely something we would encourage you guys to apply to, is the PropTech Innovation Award, which is, you can apply now until February 15th. And Sven will be one of the, selection authorities going through all the applications. He's already got a lot to go through, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it will be a lot of work again, I think. We're on a good track, I think, with the applications, yeah.
Yes, we are. So that's why I can tell you already that it's gonna be a lot of work. So so I guess wrapping it up, thank you so much, Sven, for giving us insights into Union Investment and the business that you guys are looking forward to in the future. Now we'll do a Q&A for any of our participants. If you have any questions. Let's see. We have a question from Attila, and he asked, is the well-being of office workers becoming a trend in Europe? I'll let you answer, and I can.
Yeah, I think it is. That is what I mentioned with the user-centricity. I think, of course, at first sight is something which your employer has to deal with, because you are working for someone, of course, or not of course, but if you're working for a company, then you want to identify with it, and you want to have a nice workplace environment, and this environment we can prepare for your employer. And I think this is something which developed even more with this trend of co-working, and you have these very trendy offices, and this is something which develops some sort of maybe like that. So, or you wish for an environment like Mindspace or WeWork or something like that for your company, if you ever been to one of that. So it will become a trend, not only for real estate, but also in terms of war of talents. This is a fact or a point which you have to look in if you want to get good people. So,
yeah, exactly. And I would completely agree with that. I mean, I know I'm sitting in Berlin, but the way I see it is we have like Generation XYZ, digital nomads. It's really hard to keep talent nowadays, and you don't want to have a high turnover rate. So it's, HR, PR, marketing. I think everyone, even the most classic and traditional industries, are realizing that they need to vamp up. So yes, it's important, super important.
Yeah.
We have another question. Let me just, let's see. One person asked us, how do we funnel and go through PropTech startups? And does Union Investment take equity in potential PropTech startups? I think from my end, I can answer, we have the event at least to kind of seek out, right? To seek out and look at the various innovations in the startups.
Yeah, sure.
And when it comes to the investment itself, I guess, Sven, maybe you have a question. I'm sure it varies.
Yeah, as you already mentioned, of course, we are funneling our PropTechs with GERMANTECH via the PropTech Award. We also have platforms which we are looking into when we're doing our desktop research. We participate in pitch events, in conferences, and looking for direct contact with PropTechs. What was the second part of the question?
If they take, do you guys take equity?
Yeah, sure. As I already mentioned, we have the strategic investment in Architrave. So if there is a common ground for investment opportunities, we are looking into, of course, your numbers, and it's a normal due diligence process. Then, of course, we participate with money. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take two more questions that I actually have here. The first one says, concerning the blockchain solution with the fire extinguisher at Union Investment, since a blockchain makes most sense if it's immutable because it is decentralized, how do you do it with the blockchain for your fire extinguisher?
Oh, that is a very
yeah, I was going to say, did you understand the question? Because it...
Yeah, well, of course, I agree. It's about decentralization, but it's also about the Unveränderbarkeit. I don't know the
unchangeable aspect.
Yeah. So if once the information is in the blockchain, you are simply not able to change that. So this is something what we see is good point.
That's a USP of the blockchain, is that it's transparent.
Yeah, and I think it's not a public blockchain which we use for that. So we have several peers, I think, where or nodes where all the information went through, but it's a private blockchain.
Okay.
It's not the Bitcoin blockchain or something like that. Yes.
So it was a very detailed question, but I guess
I'm sorry. It's to be fair, I still not understand the system blockchain completely, but I think it worked. And
but
the guys who did that, they are the experts. For myself, it was like the innovative thing.
Right, at least saving one life at a time with a working fire extinguisher, which is the most important part.
Yeah.
So last question from Imre Gustav. It says, you mentioned that your first task at Union Investment was a PropTech research. Taking into consideration that the sector is developing extremely fast, was it just a one-time
attempt?
Yeah, well, attempt. Oh, you can read it too. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't have to read it too.
I opened the Q&A.
Oh, okay.
As well. Well, no, the task was to implement a continuous process, of course, because as you already said, it's extremely fast development. And this is something we implemented in our daily work, and we are continuously looking for the new developments in that sector. So, yeah.
Okay, I have one last question before
Yes.
we actually end this. So with Union Investment, we've done the PropTech Innovation Award for the 4th consecutive year. And there was this interesting thought that, you know, PropTech, with any type of evolution of innovative technology, do you think PropTech is still at the beginning, or do you think it is going to start accelerating extremely fast in terms of the progression of investments and startups growing out of the topic? So like on the curve, where do you see PropTech at this point? Do you think we hit a peak, or is it going to just go?
Well, I think it depends on which sector the PropTechs are operating. I think there is still a huge potential to develop new solutions. So I would say it's still on the growing side of the curve. If it's a peak,
I doubt it.
As I mentioned, I think it depends on the sectors they are working. As we already talked about virtual reality, I think that it was on a peak and now maybe leveled out, and they are now looking for use cases where they can use their technologies to get more into the needs of the real estate industry. But I think they're still way up, yes.
All right. Okay. Well, that would be, we will finalize our webinar session. And Sven, thank you so much for your time. And it was a very fun webinar. So hopefully we can do this again next year. And to all of our participants, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you visit our page, join the newsletter if you want to know about any future events that we're doing, world changes in tech, etc., and get more info on the PropTech Innovation Award. So, Dankeschön.
You're welcome. Tschüss nach Berlin.
Tschüss.
Bye.